Hello everyone and welcome to Fandom Theory. My name is Elizabeth Rathburn and this video series is a part of a larger project in which I'm researching online entrepreneurs and their audiences. Usually when you think of fandoms, they're divided into two general groups, sports and pop culture media. But I'm going to be looking into what I think is a third type of fandom, what I'm calling a creator fandom. This will be a multi-part series in which I will cover all aspects of creator fandoms. This is Fandom Theory, Part 1. Look, I'm sure you know a lot of this beginning stuff already, but I'm just being thorough. Some basics about fandoms. Fandoms are organized communities of people who enjoy or are fans of the same thing. Some examples are sports teams, either by sport or a city. Pop culture, such as books, comics, music, TV shows, and movies, usually science fiction and fantasy. And by extension, the actors, writers, and directors involved. And, as I will explain later, content creators. Fandoms have ways of easily identifying themselves. For example, all sports teams have logos that are easy to put on shirts or sell jerseys of players. But extending to all other fandoms, everything always comes back to, what is the brand? Almost everything has a logo, and if someone is smart, they've taken that logo and put it on a t-shirt and then are selling said t-shirt. But what about not wearing t-shirts? On the internet, you can be more sneaky by having profile pictures or usernames that have a reference to a certain fandom, such as characters, items, or numbers. Fandoms also have jargon. Some phrases, like shipping, have bled out into the mainstream, but they did have their start in fandom. Fandoms, especially in pop culture media fandoms, are really driven by fan creations, including, but not limited to, fan art, fanfic, fan vids, music, songs, and cosplay. All of these are secondary creations based on the original source material. There can also be Twitter accounts, Facebook pages, Tumblr blogs, and subreddits dedicating to sharing news and information about the source material or the fandom, different fan creations that I described before, or even internet-only fan creations such as memes or out-of-context pictures. Whatever the case, it is clear the internet has helped the spread of fandom. Something to keep in mind when considering fandom action is the difference between fantasy and reality. For sports, this distinction is quite clear. These are paid athletes, and with the exception of wrestling, there's no scripting involved in the weekly games. This is reality, and you can analyze what happened based on actual footage or player statistics. You could be mad at a certain player for missing a shot or fumbling a catch, but they're only human. The problems with blurring fantasy and reality usually come up with pop culture media fandoms. There is a difference between hating a character and hating an actor, but some people choose to ignore that. A more prominent recent example would be the online backlash Kelly Marie Tran faced after the release of The Last Jedi because some people did not like her character Rose. There's also the ethical debate when it comes to real person fiction, or RPF. This is when real people are used as characters in fan fiction, such as actors or musicians. Can people do this? Technically, yes. There are no laws preventing this because you can't trademark a personality. Should people do this? There's the gray area. What is a creator fandom? A creator fandom is a fandom following not just a particular series or output of a channel or podcast, but also the creator or creators behind that final product. Fans may come back to the channel not just because of the content, but because of the creator themselves, and they'll support the creator with whatever they decide to do on their channel. When considering the fantasy and reality question, with creator fandoms, it's usually pretty transparent when the creator is themselves and when they're playing a character. Much of the appeal of creator fandoms is you feel like you get to really know the person behind the scenes, which can be accomplished through a variety of means. The other concepts still apply in terms of identification and fan creation, though in these cases, more often than not, it's the creator themselves who is selling branded merchandise, and the fan creations, such as fan art, are sent directly to the creator. The big thing to keep in mind, again, is that these are real people whose real jobs it is to create whatever they're creating. In this way, creator fandoms are actually more analogous with sports fandoms than pop culture media fandoms, except these creators are more directly accessible to their fans because they're less mainstream. What is the science behind fandoms? Fandoms are communities, right? So it would make sense to look at community psychology. And when you look into community psychology, a little thing called the psychological sense of community shows up. This was developed by McMillan and Chavez, and they proposed that there are 4 elements. What I'll be doing is relating each of these 4 elements to being a part of a fandom. The first element is membership. There are 5 attributes to this element, but what it basically boils down to is this. In order to be a part of a community, there has to be something that makes you a member of that community. That could be a literal symbol associated with the fandom, such as a Deathly Hallows symbol, or something less tangible, like a feeling of belonging and safety with the fandom. Many people regard their fandoms as a safe space where they're free to express themselves. Some members may also have more of a personal investment in the fandom than others, especially if they run a popular fan page or account. The second element is influence, and this basically means that all members of the group should feel free to express their thoughts and ideas to try and influence the rest of the group, and other members of the group should be open to those other thoughts. And influence goes both ways. Someone who shuts out other people's ideas and declares their own thoughts as the only proper thoughts is not a good member of the group. The third element is integration and fulfillment of needs, but needs could also be things desired or valued. Again, people are included in their fandoms, and some people might be rewarded for doing something above and beyond the average member of the fandom. The fourth and final element is a shared emotional connection. This is very true with fandoms. Even though much of the communication takes place over the internet and not face-to-face, all that time spent together will definitely create a close bond. So, fandoms fit pretty well into the psychological sense of community. Finally, what is an Aka fan? I would be remiss if I didn't include at least a little bit on Aka fans, which is a term I hadn't heard until I started research on this project. Aka fan is simply academic fan. This could be an academic who also identifies as a fan, or a fan who does academic research on something they're a fan of. There's often no distinction as to which identity is primary or secondary, but there will be those who argue that an Aka fan is an academic first and a fan second. Especially in pop culture media fandoms, people who enjoy researching and thinking critically about the things they love will find a way to tie it into their work. Students will write research papers or theses on television shows or books. There are many collections of essays about movies, books, and television shows. A search on YouTube can bring up video essays on anything from narrative structure to symbolism. With the internet allowing more people to freely share their thoughts, a person doesn't have to be a PhD academic in order to share their thoughts about how they read or viewed something. Rather, with their individual lenses, worldview, and education, much academic material about the subject of fandoms has been created by decidedly non-academics. So, to recap, fandoms are communities of people bound together by a degree of love and appreciation for someone or something. There are 3 main types of fandoms: sports, pop culture media, and creator. Creator fandoms have been on the rise due to an increase in online entrepreneurs and the instantaneous connection available through social media. All fandoms include the elements of the psychological sense of community. Aka fans research what they're passionate about, and thanks to the internet are able to share their thoughts with the fandoms at large. Because of the ease of communication and connection offered through the internet, fandoms are not going anywhere anytime soon. Next up is part 2, where I'll be taking a quick look through history to determine what were the elements that allowed creator fandoms to come to exist. Be sure to hit subscribe and follow Fandom Theory on Twitter so you know exactly when part 2 comes out. If you like reading, there's a link in the description to where I've uploaded a paper on this same topic. And finally, share this video with your creator fandoms. Let's spread knowledge and start a conversation. Thanks for watching.